Good afternoon. Welcome to Pittsburgh City Council's Cablecast Post Agenda on RPPP. For the record, today we are joined by Councilperson Strasburger. Other members will be joining us periodically. So I called this post agenda largely based on the fact that RPP was getting a lot more attention with increased rates, as you guys did a good job notifying the public of these increased rates, but it did make a lot of residents call our office and start to engage with us about what the purpose of the RPP was and was the program performing there. So I wanted to have an opportunity to bring you in so we could discuss what you think that you'll be able to do with this increased rate and how the program is kind of going as a whole. So if you'd care to introduce yourselves, and I'll let you kind of take it from there a little bit.
Thank you. I'm Dave Honorato, Executive Director of the Pittsburgh Parking Authority.
Matt Jędrzejewski, of the Director of Meter Services and Enforcement of the Pittsburgh Parking Authority.
So can you talk to us a little bit about, I guess, maybe the history of the RPP program and how it's going and where we can move in?
Yeah,
the next
I
steps
guess
here.
it started back in, Council approved it back in the early 80s to provide parking in areas where there's large universities or hospitals. They give the residents ample spaces to park and it's not taken up by employees. So that's most of the areas you'll find RPP programs throughout the city. Today we have 39 RPP permitted areas. Last year we sold just under 18,000 residential permits and just under 10,000 visitors passes. The reason for there's never been an increase in the $20 permit fee or the $1 visitors pass since the early 80s, since the program was started. Last year and every year prior to that, the program runs as a deficit. Last year it ran at about $290,000 deficit. So the increase is to offset the deficit the program is seeing, and so the city is not subsidizing the program, that it should be self-sufficient. And the authority is in charge of the issuing the permits and visitors passes and the enforcement out in the neighborhood. All the creations of the zone is done at the city level through DOMI. It used to be city planning the last several years. I think in 21 it transferred to DOMI.
And, so with this increase in fee, in addition to tackling the deficit, is there a belief that you'll be able to have better enforcement?
Well, not due to the fee, but we're going to probably have better enforcement through the use of technology that we're ramping up this year and next year.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
We're using automated enforcement where we'll have cameras on the vehicles. We'll be able to drive through the RPP areas and determine whether the vehicle is permitted, has a visitor's pass, or extended to 2-hour free time, and if so, we'll time and enforce that and then issue it. So we'll be able to cover more territory with less officers, because we're still down probably 40% of our officers post-COVID.
And will that automated enforcement be for meter parking, RPP parking, and for the lots?
Yes, once we're fully operational. Right now, it is used this year for street cleaning. We rolled it out. We have stationary cameras today in several of our lots. We're expanding that to 12 or 15 lots. Our board just approved, so we're in a process of installing cameras in about half our surface lots throughout the city. And once we have the automated enforcement for the vehicles, we will be able to roll it out for meters, RPP, and street cleaning. It'll be able to do all types of enforcement. But we will continue to do both types of enforcement with our handheld, with the officers, place them on the windshield, and the automated enforcement.
Great. So I have some maybe more district-specific questions that I would like to, well, actually, sorry, one last thing. Tell me about staffing. So I know that we've talked a lot about not having enough enforcement agents.
We're currently at about, Matt, if I'm wrong, 23 full-timers and 17 part-timers for the enforcement officers.
No, we're actually slightly lower. We're currently at 17 full-time and 11 part-time.
11 part-time.
And that covers the entire city and all the enforcement, different types of enforcement.
What would a full complement be?
Prior to COVID, we probably had a staff of 47 officers, probably about 25 full-timers and 20 to 24 part-timers.
Okay. Councilperson Strasburger, do you have questions here?
Thank you, yeah. So I appreciate you being here, and having served on the board, I know how much pride the authority takes in, keeping rates reasonable, below market rate, but, and so this increase was doing what you had to do, which was, adjusting revenues according to what was needed. And fully recognizing that council approved it in our budget process, and that we, that you also did advertise that it was coming. It would be helpful to understand. It felt, I guess, the biggest critique we've heard was that it was a big jump rather than $5 1 year, $5 increase 1 year, then $5 an incremental sort of increase up to a $40. To the extent that you feel comfortable or able to, can you help us understand and communicate to the public, the rationale for the larger jump? I can imagine a lot of scenarios. One is we need the money now. The other end, there's a lot of deferred sort of, not maintenance, but technological and other upgrades. The other being, we don't want to have to come back to the public for an increase every single year, because that then is can be a different kind of public relations issue. Are you able to help us understand, so we can communicate to the public, like $20 and doubling the fee for the RPP, how that decision came about?
Yes, I mean, we're in contact with a lot of different cities throughout the country, and we're still with the increase, we're one of the lowest in the U.S. But understand that $20 for the entire year. It's not a month. I mean, people pay anywhere from $270 to $320 in part-time time. Or in the neighborhoods, people going to work are paying, $110 in our lots. So this is the first increase since this RPP program started back, I believe, in 1984. Mm-hmm. This is the first increase that occurred in over, 30 years. And it's bringing us up to the market rate, but we're still below that. Mm-hmm. And, internal discussions at the authority and with different departments at the city, we didn't feel, it seems it is a big jump, but $20 a park for the entire year is a very reasonable amount.
Okay. That was the main question I wanted to ask. I might, as I hear Councilperson Charland and the chair of this meeting ask some of his questions, I might think of more. So if you'll allow me to go out of order if I think
Sure.
of others, I appreciate that. But no, I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to hearing more of the conversation today.
So one of the questions that that's come up a lot in our community meetings is the low rate of enforcement. So I'm looking right now at the reports that, Matt, you send us over with how many plates are read and how many tickets are given out. And specifically, I guess month by month you send this out to us, but in per zone, and we're about 1% parking. 1% of the plates read are tickets. And I'm curious if you think that is that what you expect to see, and if so, what are the safeguards on that to make sure that the meter or the plates are actually being read properly? to me, like, we've seen numbers before that are usually at the 5 or 6% rate. I'm concerned that there's something wrong with the system, that we're actually getting that few, giving that few tickets out.
I don't think there's anything wrong with the system. I think it's how it's working right now. Due to the staffing levels, and we not only covered a 39 RPP district, right now we're doing street cleaning throughout the city. We're doing meter enforcement, and we're doing the PEDs in the different neighborhoods, and we're also doing the signage enforcement. That's a lot of the different types of enforcement, and RPP enforcement is labor intensive, whereas that with the 2-hour free parking for non-permitted holders, we'll ride through the first time with the camera record a plate. If they don't have a permit or a visitor's pass, we still can't issue a ticket.
Sure.
We have to come back out, after 2 hours. So if go through it in the morning and don't make it back, either that car could have left. If we don't make it back in 2 hours and 15 minutes, it might be 4 hours or 5 hours before we get back here. That car could have left that we read the first time or read new plates, so we have to come back again before we tag the new plates. So it's very labor intensive to do RPP enforcement. I know some cities are getting away from the 2-hour free parking, where it's only for residents and or visitors pass. If you don't have that, the 2 hours should be paid. Maybe then they're doing that. So if you ride through enforcement, you can tag right away. That's either a permit, a visitor's pass, or they paid.
So when I'm getting numbers that say, let's just say CC in May, you read 2,355 plates. That could be you're reading them for the first time in the 2-hour grace period.
I think the drop off too was we just did an overhaul of the RPP system, the portal we have online. We ran into some difficulties in implementing that. It took a little longer, and the RPP program was down where people weren't able to get their permits, and we weren't enforcing because the permits were old. Since then, we have that all corrected, and it's up and running now, the live portal for people to buy their permits. So there was a year, during that whole year, we had difficulties with the program and was upgrading it because the old one was so antiquated.
And are those upgrades complete now?
It is.
Okay. Yeah, so that is, I guess, the basis of kind of my whole concern here. I have residents, specifically in the KK area, that want to repeal the RPP zone there. Essentially, that they don't believe they're getting value for their money in the RPP zone. And, I'm looking at, it's one of the higher ones, but I'm still, we don't crack 1.5% ticketing in that zone. So I can see where that feeling comes from, that they're paying $20, now they're paying $40, but parking's still not really being enforced. Is there anything that you could say to help ease those concerns, that we believe that it will be getting better? If the residents want to repeal it, I'm not going to stand in their way, but I do believe in the RPP program. I do believe in the neighbors that probably a decade ago fought really hard to bring that KK zone in. And now the residents that live there now are saying, like, I don't really see the value in this. Why would I pay $40 when they're not enforcing?
We are enforcing. Again, the year that we implemented the portal probably was within the last 18 months. So that's when ticket issuing was down because we couldn't enforce because people weren't able to get their permits. I do believe we are enforcing and will continue to enforce that. Some of the issues is too that we're hearing from the people, probably why the increase is hitting them. They're not only have one vehicles, there's
Sure.
customers that have 2, 3, 4, up to 5. We have 1 or 2 that have in excess of 5 vehicles. So I think that should be something addressed through the parameters of the RPP program at the city. But again, the authority is just responsible for the enforcement and issuing the permits. I believe the neighborhoods voted on that. They needed 75% of the residents to approve it. They also can step out with a majority of residents if they wanted to expand the program. But that has nothing to do with the authority. They would do that through the city.
Yeah, and I mean, I think some residents have started that process. I've kind of tried to tell them to tread cautiously, but if that's what they want to do, I'm not gonna stop them. And
Well, to piggyback off of in Southside, to piggyback off of what Dave is saying too with the LPR enforcement and with the ticket by mail, that is our next step in the ticket by mail process. Is that we are moving forward with the on-street portion of the South Side for ticket by mail, so we can enforce the heavy areas of South Side first, and then from there we will do the RPP districts with ticket by mail. And with ticket by mail, they're going to be more efficient to where they don't have to get out and put the ticket on the vehicle. The car is just riding by. It can come by every 2 hours. Because we're seeing that efficiency with street cleaning now, to where the street cleaners are getting done well before they used to, because they would have to wait for our officers to follow them.
Sure.
Right now, a car is just following them, so they're getting more of the route done, and our officers are getting done finished faster
yeah,
with
And
street
in
cleaning.
the south side too, we did stop enforcement in the evening due to safety issues for our officers. And I think you're aware of that. The reasons why, when the police were unable to escort our officers, we would not send them there for their safety issues and dealing with the unions.
And prior to COVID also, we actually had 2 officers. We had one with the residential, one enforcing with the residential permit officers, and the ones doing the PED at night, because it was so bad even in the residential districts.
I guess I'm seeing that your plate, like the number of plate reads, even in nighttime enforcement, has gone back to, maybe not back to where it was pre-COVID, but has gone back up. It just, my concern is still that the tickets are still very, very low.
Probably in the evening, I would imagine the tickets would be low if they're all, the residents are back home in the evening and not working and have the spots taken. We're reading their plates, but they're all permit holders, probably the majority of them.
I guess that's how it's supposed to work, you know. So, so another question I had is about how many permits are issued per zone. It was something that I recently learned that actually KK specifically is there are more than enough spaces for the amount of passes, or the amount of passes issued in that zone. Does it vary in terms of, are there 120% of permits issued in some zones and 80 in others?
We don't track it by a percentage. I mean, we're given by the city the zone and the streets that are included in that zone.
With the addresses as well.
So anyone on that street with that address that's in that zone gets a permit, whether it's 1 or 5. If they're entitled to a permit, we issue it to them. And sometimes the areas do oversell the vehicles. There's more permits sold than spaces available.
But you don't track that?
No, but we do track how many permits are issued in every area. We don't know how many parking spots are in that area, but we know how many permits are issued per area.
The Department of City Planning does know that, so it might be, I guess that would be an interesting, like, collaborative approach to just see, you know, because I know for a fact KK, they came back and they said that there are not enough, or not. It is well under the amount of permits issued per spaces. So, which I thought was interesting, because I think CC is the other way. I think there's like 120. I'm making this number up, but 125% more passes than spots.
I think in most zones, especially in Oakland and parts of Southside, you will see that it's exceeding that amount, because you have homes that are changed into multiple addresses, with apartments with around Pitt as well. So
Townhouses don't have a whole lot of, curb space in front of them, and kind of the building design there, and is kind of why in a dense neighborhood like Southside, RPP is even more important than in a neighborhood like Brookline where everyone kind of has a yard. So, yeah, I would be interested in if that's something we could work on together.
We can send you up the number of permits per zone.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk to Domi, or I forget if it's Domi or City Planning that has that number, but I think there's something. Oh, the one other question I had about increasing the permit fees, and this is an idea that I would like to do is instead of having these jumps from 20 to 40, to have it be scaled with, I don't know, scaled with inflation, or so that instead of going from 20 to 40, it would graduate up slightly every year, and people wouldn't have the same shock. If it goes from 40 to 42, I'm probably going to get less phone calls. And if it continues to scale, is that something that you guys would be interested in?
I think, yeah, but we're not, I guess, from our standpoint, I don't think we're looking to raise it every year. Again, we just were part of the discussion. That could have come up, and again, that was approved through the city's budget, not ours. So we
Right.
didn't approve the rate increase. It came from the city's fee schedule. It was approved in there. So that discussion could have been at the city level also before this increase occurred. We were part of the recommendation team that included that in the fee schedule, but ultimately it was approved by the city,
Right,
city
yeah.
council.
We approve it with a big fee schedule, which unfortunately for us has caught us in some problems because there's so many things in there, and we're looking at the whole city's budget, and then if there's a change in the fee schedule, it often can go unnoticed unless someone flags it to us.
It was brought to the administration part, and I know they discussed it with different council members and that, so it was brought in front of them and made aware of it.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't part of those conversations, but all right, that's really kind of all I had. I do hope to see more enforcement in the South Side, specifically in the South Side, where I've received, again, most of my complaints about this. I do hope that we're issuing more tickets, and it'll be helpful for me to be able to relay back that when we see these plate reads, they can often be the first read, and we actually do need a second read to be able to issue the ticket there. So that's helpful for me to know and to take back to the neighborhoods there. Anything else that you guys want to add?
No, again, I think the big reason for the increase was, again, to offset the deficit of almost $300,000 per year.
Yeah, that makes sense. So no other members joined, right? Okay. All right. Well, then, I guess thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the work that you do and for communicating with us as well. So, having exhausted the business of this post agenda, this meeting is adjourned.